Same couple, same $1.8 million saved. One plan says spend $6,000 per month. Another plan says $11,600 per month. So what's the difference? And which one is right? It comes down to income guardrails. It's the single framework that financial experts use to tell their clients they can nearly double their spending in the years where it matters most. So if you're sitting on a decent nest egg, but terrified to actually spend it, worried that one market crash will derail everything, you need a system that tells you exactly when to adjust and by how much. Without it, you're either spending too little and dying with regrets, or you're spending too much and lying awake at night. Today, I'm walking you through a real case study. You'll see exactly how the numbers work, how the guardrails adjust over time, and how this might apply to your situation. So by the end, you'll know the exact steps to safely unlock an $11,600 per month lifestyle in your go-go years. But first, let me introduce you to Alex and Jamie. They're 59 years old, about to retire with $1.8 million saved, but they have an issue. They ran their numbers through a DIY calculator online, and they were told that they can safely spend $6,000 per month. But that's not going to work for them. Hearing that, they felt kind of boxed in, like they couldn't really start enjoying their money after decades of being responsible savers. They'd be afraid to book nice trips, worried that their healthcare costs are going to put them over their budget, and constantly feeling like they're spending too much. They imagine their retirement differently, just more fun, especially in the earlier years of retirement when they're the healthiest and the most active. So if they really did try to squeeze themselves into that $6,000 per month spending, what would it actually look like for them? Well, their pre-Medicare health insurance coverage is going to be about $2,000 per month for both of them. Their mortgage is $1,500 per month until 2036. So that leaves $2,500 per month for everything else: food, gas, gifts, travel, emergencies. So for their lifestyle, there's almost zero room for big trips or generosity or really living up the go-go year lifestyle that they had always been dreaming about. They don't want to die rich, they want to live rich now, but they want to do it responsibly. Jamie's terrified of kind of stealing from her 80-year-old self if she spends too much now. And Alex says that he'd rather just keep working rather than feel like they have to live every year on a tight budget in retirement. But here's what's happening. The calculator they use quoted the 4% rule, which says to take 4% from your portfolio in year one of retirement, then you increase it each year by inflation, designed for roughly 30 years, starting at age 65. But there's a few issues. The 4% rule doesn't see that Alex and Jamie are actually 60, not 65. And the real issue is that it treats spending as if it's flat spending forever. It doesn't adjust for human nature of some years having more spending and some years having less spending. And it doesn't know that Social Security is starting up at some point. And it doesn't account for healthcare costs changing dramatically at age 65 once they're on Medicare. You see, the 4% rule is a solid piece of financial planning history and a good one-size-fits-all kind of anecdote, but Alex and Jamie need something a little bit more tailored. And that's what we're going to explore today. So instead of asking what percentage is safe to spend every year, we really need to ask, given your resources and realistic futures, how much can you safely spend each month? This is about safe spending capacity, the monthly paycheck that keeps you living within your means across multiple different market scenarios into the future. It's really about balancing two risks: overspending and running out of money versus underspending and having regrets. At Peak, we use risk-based guardrails to manage this. Think of them as your financial playbook. The lower guardrail triggers when the risk of overspending becomes too high. That's your alert to temporarily reduce your spending slightly, just think 5%. And then you have the upper guardrail, which triggers when the risk of underspending is too high, meaning you're actually being too cautious. And this is a time when you're able to use more of your savings and spend more to create more memories and better experiences. So for Alex and Jamie, applying this guardrail approach dramatically improves their safe spending capacity. Let me show you exactly how. Let's take a look from age 60 to 61. So originally, they wanted to be able to spend about $10,600 per month, or about $130 per year in their earlier years of retirement. But because they are willing to be adjustable and flexible with their spending based on portfolio performance and other factors, we designed a plan where at 60, they can actually spend $11,600 per month, which is about $140,000 per year, adjusted annually for inflation. All of it comes from their $1.8 million portfolio in the beginning of their retirement. So that's roughly a 7.7% withdrawal rate. Yes, I know what you might be thinking. That's much higher than 4%. But here's why it works. It's actually temporary. Because they're going to get future Social Security starting to flow in, they're going to have Medicare replace their expensive ACA coverage at age 65. Their mortgage is going to drop off in about 6 years. So this perceived portfolio strain in the earlier years of retirement reduces dramatically over time. And they've also let us know that they are concerned about long-term care and balancing spending today with having enough to cover their medical bills at the end of their lives. So we actually modeled a $500,000 long-term care event for them starting at 24 months to the end of their life. So even with those expenses, $500,000 baked in at the end of their plan, their guardrails are watching the risk in the background and giving them the green light to still be able to go ahead and spend more at the beginning of retirement. Now, at age 62, Jamie's going to go ahead and claim Social Security early, and that brings in roughly $1,300 per month. Now, based on inflation only, their spending does increase slightly to $12,200 per month, about $147,000 per year. But only $10,900 per month or $131,000 per year needs to come from the portfolio now, right? Because a chunk of that is being offset by her Social Security. So their withdrawal rate drops from 7.7% to 7.2%, just using the original $1.8 million that they had. So they've got $1,300 per month of guaranteed income coming in, and it is just a small pressure relief valve on their investment portfolio, but you'll see it's the start of many small pressure release valves. Now, at age 65, they both transition from ACA coverage to Medicare. Their health insurance cost structure completely shifts, as you can imagine, and their ACA premiums disappear. Medicare, even plus a supplemental plan, usually runs much cheaper than pre-65 coverage. So they're still going to be spending about $135,000 per year. It's just that extra bit for health insurance drops off from their spending plan. Now, although they only need $116,000 for their expenses, their actual safe spending capacity is $135,000, which means they can spend more and put more dollars towards travel, family, and fun rather than to insurance companies. Now, Alex decided to wait until 70 to claim his Social Security, and he brings in roughly $4,400 per month. So looking at their age 71, combined with Jamie's benefit, that's grown to about $1,700 with the cost of living adjustments, they now have over $6,100 per month in guaranteed Social Security income. So the portfolio only needs to cover about $54,000 for that year. That's a 3% withdrawal rate based on the original $1.8 million. But notice something important on this graph here. It shows their different income sources over the lifetime of their plan and their monthly spending. You see, when their Social Security kicks in, their spending doesn't increase. They've already front-loaded their spending in their 60s using the safe spending capacity and guardrails, recognizing that the Social Security income is actually going to offset a percentage of the portfolio withdrawal. That's kind of what we're talking through. Similarly, you can see this graph shows their monthly spending by category over the lifetime of their plan. Again, do you notice a pattern here? When major expenses drop off, like their mortgage payoff or Medicare replacing ACA premiums or reducing travel as they age, their total spending actually decreases over time throughout their plan. So they don't replace those dollars that are dropping off by ramping up spending elsewhere. And that's a trade-off that we make for being able to front load your retirement lifestyle in your 60s and 70s. But it works because it matches human nature. There's a concept called the spending smile. So you spend the most in the first part of retirement when you're the healthiest and the most active, then your spending goes down. And you tend to spend the least during the middle years when you're naturally slowing down. Then potentially there might be a spike at the end of your plan for healthcare costs, which, as you can see, we do have reflected here. Now, if this type of planning is resonating with you and you want to spend more in retirement when you're the healthiest and most active at the front of retirement, and you don't want to just save it all for the end of your plan when you can't really use those dollars, I'd encourage you to click the link in the description or just scan the QR code on this screen to schedule a call with my team. But you might be asking yourself, how do these guardrails actually work? And so I'm going to break it down for you in 3 steps. The first step is that the underlying mechanism for the software is it's a probability score. So Alex and Jamie discussed, and they chose the risk of overspending that they're okay with and how much risk they're comfortable with potentially underspending. And based on their plan and their comfort level, they're okay with an 80-20 split. So 80% chance of underspending and a 20% chance of overspending. Now, the second is the lower guardrail triggers small planned cuts to their spending. So if their portfolio has a drawdown of 29%, as you can see here on this screen, the lower guardrail would be triggered, and it would require that they make a 3% monthly spending reduction, about $300. Now, you might be saying that sounds very, very small for a portfolio that's down almost 30%. But here's why it matters. Small adjustments to your spending earlier in retirement actually have a very outsized impact over the lifetime of your plan. It's kind of like reverse compounding. The good and bad spending decisions earlier on will ripple through the following decades. And the third step is the upper guardrail actually gives them a raise to their monthly income. So if markets are strong and their portfolio increases 13%, they get signaled to actually increase their spending by 7%, about $800 per month. They're not winging it and they're not kind of flying by the seat of their pants. They've got a playbook that says when to adjust and by how much and for how long. The rest of the time, they can actually just enjoy their money and not have to worry about it. Now, don't forget, before this approach, Alex and Jamie felt stuck and very unhappy at the idea of only being able to spend $6,000 per month. They would have second guessed every big purchase. Every trip would have felt like they were kind of gambling with their future. But after seeing this plan, they had a clear path to $11,600 per month in their 60s with defined income guardrails. They know exactly what's going to happen if markets misbehave. Small, rules-based cuts, not panic. They feel relieved, excited, and permission to actually use their money for what it was saved for, a very fun and enjoyable retirement. So if your calculator is telling you $5,000 to $7,000 per month, it might be using a blunt instrument like the 4% rule. Software that focuses on safe spending capacity and risk-based guardrails with the right advisory team that can actually interpret the software for you can significantly unlock more income for you, especially in the earlier part of retirement when it's your healthiest years and you can really use those dollars to the fullest. Now, the boring part is setting up the rules and reviewing it a few times per year, but it's exactly what you need to do to have the confidence to spend $11,000 or $12,000 or $13,000 per month without feeling like one bear market will put you into a disaster mode. That's the plan. I hope you found value in today's video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.